We've discussed actually deploying the Elemental extension, but what can we do with it once we've got it? So as part of this, we'll run through a use case where we're going to dive into what we can do if we notice errors. So for example here, I'm in the Explore Logs mode. I am querying using dataprime, which is the Coralogix querying syntax. You can see more about this in the Getting to Know Coralogix course. And we're also in all logs mode. The reason why we're in all logs mode, earlier on in this course, we showed that the TCO quota optimizer is set to be indexless. In other words, everything is going to that monitoring use case, which means a 68% reduction in ingestion cost, but also no indexing. If you have indexed data, you can switch to frequent search, and that's the kind of platform where you get sub-second queries from. All logs, you can see I'm directly querying the S3 bucket in the customer's account. It's taking a few seconds, and it's just a small handful of logs. Now, in the last 15 minutes, I've picked up on 44 different transcode errors. Let's say I'm interested in one of them, this one here, for example. This one happened a minute or two ago. Now, from this error, I can see some error reasons and what went on. But here's a question. I want to be able to explore more deeply what was happening around that, what was happening as a result of this. So what I can do is I can actually hover over here and say custom actions. Now, this session deep dive action does not come as part of the extension, but it's a brilliant way to illustrate how this extension works. So you'll notice here that we have a session ID, and I want to quickly show you how this custom action is put together, because this will give you an idea of how to do it yourself. We have a URL template. This is actually pointing to the account in which we're running right now. We have a dashboard, and we can also set a variable for that dashboard. In this case, it's the session ID from the document. So when I invoke this custom action, it reads inside the document and finds the session ID and presets that in the dashboard. So when I click session deep dive now, what it's going to do is it's going to load up what we call the deep dive dashboard, which is available as part of the extension. And what it's going to do is it's going to go and query the unindexed data that's sitting in the customer archive. And you can see right now we're getting some really interesting insights straight away. So here are all of the events that occurred as part of this. We can see multiple attempts at triggering the transcoding process, just for example there. We can see 2 different transcode errors have occurred. So that's pretty interesting there. There's one there and one there. We can see this flag here is red. We can see how long it took for a filled avail to happen. We can see that filled avail event there. It took about 15 seconds. We can see the code errors appearing there. If there are any vast errors, as in errors that came from the add decision server, they will be there. And on top of that, just like an added bonus, we can also see what was happening in the system around the same time as this particular error. Now that's pretty amazing, because what that means is if we have a sudden spike in activity and then we see an error, using just this dashboard, we can deeply correlate what's going on. Now, this is based exclusively, actually, on media tailored data. And as we go forward, we're going to add more and more features to this. So again, if this dashboard has more going on, just remember this is kind of the core of it. The idea is to give you that contextual input. So we've gone from an error log, which gives us some information, to the full context of everything that was happening pertaining to that session. And this is just a really nice use case to demonstrate how powerful the Elemental Insights extension is, and the kind of capabilities it unlocks in our customers, how easy it is to understand, well, this transcode error occurred, but what else was happening as part of this stream? And we can see there were multiple errors, multiple attempts to transcode, we can see how long it took, we can see the contextual activity, we can see each event and when it occurred. Really very, very powerful indeed, and a really, really nice way of breaking down an event that would otherwise be a black box without this kind of telemetry.